Hey kids, welcome back. I was out and about again, went to a really cool event, Miller's at Indianapolis. They're usually up in Milwaukee. I hope this isn't a 1 year only thing and maybe they'll alternate it or come every 5 years or something, because it's really worth seeing. If you don't know who Harry Miller was, definitely got to check that out. You've probably heard of the guy that kind of carried the torch after he got out of it, Offenhauser, the Offy, the legendary Offy, carried on by other guys after him as well, but definitely that engine, pretty distinctive sound, powering all kinds of open wheel cars. One Indy, almost 50 years going. Neat stuff, to think, hot rods are V8s, right? Well, this thing is not. It's a four-cylinder, or most of the ones he did were four cylinders. So let's check it out. We're going to head out there and see some cool stuff, all right? Let's do it. All right, here we go. Going under the tunnel into the track. This is for the pedestrian traffic under the main straight. Check it out, man. Wow. It's like going back in time. See where we came from. There's stands. And here we go up into the pits, and there's a little bit of a swap meet going on. Go check that out. I think those little cars are called mini sprints. Not totally sure, but man, it's just visual overload. Great weather too, by the way. Indiana, hey, you never know. If you don't like the weather, the saying is just wait a few minutes. But this was a great day. This was day 2 of the event. I mean, look at that. Wow. Roger Ward right there. Man. Lots of cool details in these old cars. Can't live in the past, but there's some stuff that just don't happen anymore. There's one running around the back there. We're going to check it all out the best we can. But I tell you, it's a lot of the parts that you see are stuff that I sort of know about. I mean, check that out right there. There's a starter to get these things going. They don't have like a internal starter to get the motor running. They have like an aircraft starter with a battery pack and get the thing going. That's what that rig was. Walk back over here and check out the I think they're called mini sprints. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but there was every effort to get kind of like baseball, actually, from Pee Wee on up to the majors. They try to get every level of the driver rolling on 4 wheels. Lots of parts here that I can kind of identify, but I think you got like some, yes, an Offy crank there, but I think you got some Winfield carburetors going on there. Really wish I had my buddy Dave Hare go back and check out Smith Miller go to the racetrack and talk to him. He's a 3rd generation racer, and I know what some of this stuff is, but he knows what this stuff was, if that makes any sense. So the application and what it meant. I'm kind of an interloper into this world of racing, or vintage racing, and it's just awesome, man. If you're a hot rodder, I mean, everything these guys build is hot rod stuff. Look at that right there. It says, "Don't know what it fits, don't care." I almost bought that for the Starfire.
I don't even know if I'd take the writing off of it, but I don't know. I didn't. Maybe I should have. But yeah, check it out, man. Everything. Leave money or call, this number. You know, that's so cool. The community, they're so trusting. I wouldn't feel comfortable doing that, not because I'd rip the guy off, obviously, but just because be scared somebody else would take it, But I mean, hey, that's how they are. You help out your brother, and look at that thing. I mean, that wheel. It's like twisted to the direction that it turns. They're just details that don't need to be there, but you did it because you took pride in your work. I mean, talk about some beautiful paint schemes. Check that out, man. I mean, those gold wheels, the yellow paint. It's just so much to look at with these old cars that you don't know where to start or stop, I guess. I mean, and it's not a cheap hobby for sure, but the people that have the means to do this stuff, they're pretty generous with their time, and they're bringing it out here and showing it off, and I think it's pretty awesome. I mean, do they have to do that? Absolutely not. They could come out here and block it off and say, only the people that have the money to afford to do it can watch it, and they don't. They say, come on in and enjoy it with us. This is meant to be something that we can check out. I mean, look at that thing. Just the colors. I mean, to me, it kind of looks like some of the old cars, the high-end cars from the 20s and 30s, where you get these really bright colors, and you're kind of showing stuff far off. But I think what they were trying to do is make it visible from the stands. They make some bright colors and really high contrast to where you can see them. When you're in a big grandstand, they're moving fast. I mean, these days, 150 miles an hour isn't fast, but it's fast back then, and they want you to be able to see, who's in the lead and what car it is. Going back a couple of decades here, I mean, check that thing out. I mean, you talk about safety in cars. I mean, they're really, they didn't want to hurt anybody, but definitely is not what you consider safety these days. I mean, you talk about some of the modern guys that have hopped into these cars, and they're like, I don't know if it's Allenser Jr. who said this. I'm going to quote him, but I'm not sure if he said it or not. But somebody of his stature said, that's when men were men, and he's right. It's they were taking a huge risk, and they did it without question. They without hesitation. And look at that. I mean, that's a bar stool on wheels. And that thing probably goes 80 miles an hour or something like that. That's crazy. But they didn't do it because they were trying to be macho. It just did it because they had fun doing it. I mean, check out that carburetor up on that manifold on that thing. That's pretty crazy. Race cars, function follows form in that, but they somehow end up being so beautiful. I mean, it's just like nature. I mean, it's so organic. And yes, if you follow my channel, I am a design dork, and I appreciate those kinds of things. But you look at it, and it's like, oh yeah, that looks right. But I mean, it's hard to make it look right, and somehow the guys hammering this stuff out, on a stump or an anvil, because all this stuff is custom made. I mean, this is rarely mass produced, but they made it so beautiful. And look, here you go. There's an example of my what I said earlier, my 30s colors, that purple and lilac. I think this is that an AJ car? I'm not sure, but it don't matter. It's beautiful. I mean, just the way they made the scallops, kind of pull back there. I mean, it just kind of conveys speed, just in the graphics. I mean, that's another part of it too, and part of my career. Just marking the cars up and making them look fast just through the colors you choose and the way you lay out the lines. I think a lot of this stuff's in the museum. Look at that thing, front wheel drive, flathead Ford. I mean, what's not to love? Cut down 35 Ford style grille, and in my opinion, one of the best looking 30s Fords is the 35. Got the big cat on there, roar with Gilmore. I mean, kind of some information about what these cars are. Pretty awesome. I mean, they had a pretty good display here. You know, I mean, you can just walk up and check it out. I mean, I'm glad they came here. I know they came here only because they couldn't get to their normal spot, but man, just a lot of significant stuff. And these things are out rolling on the track. There you go. There's another starter, like I was talking about earlier. They can't really start on their own. Some more stuff back here. Kind of going back in time here with some of these things. I mean, this is basically a street car. This old National at Indianapolis. Hey, my hometown. I mean, get some Westinghouse air springs on the front, air shocks on the front. I think it's Peerless. Is that what that said it is? But definitely this old National is an Indianapolis car, Indianapolis built car, and no, it is not. I'm sorry. Going back. I'm thinking of another brand, but the Premier was what I was thinking of. But there was the 3 Ps. There was Peerless, Premier, and Packard. And Packard was the only one that made it out alive of the Depression, really. But Barney Oldfield, you heard of that guy? It's kind of like I don't know, like a Pete Rose kind of character of racing. I mean, he pretty much did it all. But it's so much to know about the racing world and these old cars. I mean, non-skid, that's a Firestone thing. It's crazy. I don't know if that worked or not, but when it was rolling, you definitely knew what non-skid was. Pretty smart. Check that out. Could any of us operate that thing? I don't know. And can you operate it at speed? How about that? There's nothing to hold you in there, but get an exhaust cut out. Pretty crazy. Beautiful car, though. I mean, just all the brass and the craftsmanship that went into it. Because I mean, a lot of these things are virtually hand built. When you get back into that era, there's definitely moving towards mass production. But here's that National. That building is definitely still there. I think it's a school actually on the east side of Indianapolis. Look it up. I think they built some condos around there. They're called National. If you Google that or get them Google Maps. I don't know if this is a racer or not. It's got a street line on it. This might have been like a Vanderbilt Cup car or something like that, endurance car kind of thing, because it doesn't look like it was meant. I would think they would have stripped it down entirely and pulled the fenders off of it if it was for the ovals or something like that. But beautiful machine, man. I don't know if that says Klaxon or not like that, but this is cool. All the hand painted pinstripes and brass fittings. It's just nuts, man. The amount of work they put in those things. A couple cars moving up here. I mean, look at that thing. Get the riding mechanic in there. If you haven't heard of that, I mean, they actually ran that up until I don't know, 30s maybe. I mean, that was thought to be the way to go, is to have a riding mechanic next to you. Could pump up the fuel pressure and check the gauges and tell you, okay, it's all right to, pass or, move over or whatever. Supposedly, the rear view mirror from old Ray Haroon in the Marlin Wasp kind of started making that obsolete, but they kind of still kept doing it for a while. I mean, check out that Boyle special if you haven't heard of that. Boyle, kind of a, I don't know, a union boss. I mean, don't want to besmirch the guy's name, but kind of might have had some mob ties there, but definitely had some winning teams there with Maserati and some pretty cool stuff at Indy. So definitely part of the history. Did you see that Boyle valve special there? It's kind of prominent on a lot of these cars. I mean, see an old front-wheel drive Ford there, backing into that number 23. Pretty crazy. I mean, you think about front-wheel drive. If you're my age, and you're like, oh yeah, that's something that happened in the 1970s, 1980s, or something like that. They're definitely playing around with that. From the start of cars. Here's another car. This number 2 with the writing mechanic. Like I talked about. I mean, they would actually look for little guys to be the writing mechanic. I mean, obviously, it's kind of like a horse jockey. I mean, you would cut weight, and so if you were a smaller guy, you might be a lead pipe cinch for a writing mechanic. I mean, look, beautiful color combo in the 77 here. I mean, the cream colored wheels and the kind of light blue there. Yeah, this guy's. They're definitely marking their territory, and hey, that's okay. But man, the sound of these cars, these Millers or Miller Offys or Drakes or whatever, they kind of all have the same ancestry. I mean, it's just beautiful. You think about race cars, you think V8s, but the Offenhausers and the Millers, I mean, they're 4-cylinders, and they're the winningest engine pretty much in racing. I mean, I'm just gonna throw that out there. I may be wrong, but it definitely won a long time in Indy, and it's pretty crazy when you got an engine that is basically 1920s technology that's winning races in the 70s. That's my attraction to it. There's nothing new under the sun, as they say. How about that thing? And, can you get any better than that? That's just a sharp-looking car. Like I said, beautiful day. Got a little cloud in the sky there, but nothing nuts. And that thing right there, just sounded beautiful. But just wide open, for the spectators. If you get a chance to go to this event, I definitely recommend it. It's you want to go up and talk to these guys. I did not, but they're all busy, but they definitely were more than willing to talk about their car and show you what they're doing. I mean, within reason. I mean, it's kind of going to a drag race. Here we are up in the stands. I'll tell you what, man, this is like going back in time. I mean, I was born after the end of the Roadster era, but this is kind of like being at, say the 1960-61 Indy 500 when you see these things, coming around that turn. Look at that, man. I mean, they're really kind of stretching their legs. They're not. This is not like an SVRA event, where they're pushing them to the limit and they're actually racing. Those guys are, going out there and risking their $1 million cars. They're not doing that here, and I'm not saying anything negative about the guys that are doing this. I mean, they're doing what they want to do, but they're goofing around and pushing them to the point to where you can kind of see kind of what it was like a little bit with these cars, kind of mixing it up, and it's fun. And some of them, a group of them might be from the same era, and then you'll get some guy with a 60s car going up against one of those early cars, those 20s cars or something like that. I mean, that's not realistic unless you got a video game or something like that, which I love to do. If you got a racing video game, I'll go out and get the turbine car and run it against a bunch of Watson Roadsters and lap the field like 2 times or something. But it's that's fantasy, and this is reality. I mean, and the sound of them is so unique. That's what gets me, is that these engines are similar, but they had so much flexibility in the way that they built and tuned them. And some of them have kind of a, I don't know, what do you mean, like a high pitched kind of, I don't know, I don't really like it, and I don't want to say that, but I mean, like a distracting kind of sound to them. And then other ones just have this low roar. I mean, like a hot Subaru WRX or something like that. It just sounds like, man, this thing's got some bones. And I don't know which one's faster or not. I don't care. But I guess that's part of the entertainment, is the auditory experience that you get from sitting in the stands and hearing your favorite driver, where you like the high pitch or the low pitch or whatever it may be. You can kind of call them out, or I guess pick them out, by that sound, who's coming around the bend because of the sound. And that's just part of the cost restrictions these days, to where a little bit of a spec racing, to where they kind of all sound the same, and that's okay. I'm not gonna detract from anybody going out and seeing a race. Man, go do it. But like I said, it was a good day. I mean, you got to see a lot of these guys run, and they kind of get out there and ease into it a little bit. I mean, they don't want to break these things. I mean, there are parts available in limited supply from what I've seen, but a lot of the stuff, it's like you got to have a master machinist fix these things, and that's getting harder and harder to find. You think, oh yeah, with all the technology we can do it, but I mean, some of this stuff, if you don't know how it was made, you can't duplicate it, right? See the flags going there. They're getting ready to take a break here, but it's all good. They're going to get back out there. It's kind of a 2-part deal. Like I said, it was 2-day event, but they do break for lunch. These guys got to eat. But here we go, back in one of these front wheel drive Fords, and yeah, I'm talking front wheel drive, man. I mean, the transaxle in front of the engine, and they weren't very successful, but they're super cool. Big hot flathead there, got 4 carburetors on it. Getting it started up here, nothing sounds like a flathead, right? If you've heard one, and if you've driven one, you know what I mean. But this guy here is helping them out, getting it running. But yeah, I don't care if they're winners or losers. They're just a sharp looking car. But Ford definitely came back with a vengeance, and kind of killed the Offy. I mean, 2 times really. But we won't fault them for that. But yeah, it's pretty crazy. Like I said, front wheel drive never really caught on. I mean, I think this is kind of a replica, and I don't want to bash this car, but I think that's like a sprint car engine, actually. Looks like a small block Chevy or something in there. This is kind of a stripped down version of that Ford that we're looking at earlier. Not as wild of a version. I mean, I think those are aluminum heads, but I think they're factory aluminum heads. The ones that were on that kind of hot version were, thinned, aftermarket stuff, 4 carb. This has got 2. I don't know if this is race spec or not. I mean, I don't know enough about it, but it's pretty sharp. But got him back out on the track here. Here's that, you see that old 20s car, that old yellow monster rolling around there. But like I said, it's a great event, and you're not going to get a chance to see these. This is kind of like a museum coming alive. You can see back in the distance there, that's kind of the outskirts of my hometown, little old Brownsburg. Lots of history at this facility, by the way. I mean, it's actually kind of a 3-venue setup there. Got the oval here that has ran some really good, NASCAR and some truck races. One of the best races I've ever seen was a truck race here. Super competitive, but they also have the drag strip, which is where the U.S. Nationals ran, and the original purpose of it was a road course. It was had ran NASCAR events here for a couple years, and actually IndyCar road course race. But the road course is kind of in disrepair. But they definitely, as you can see, still run the road course. The road course is active and gets used all the time, and the drag strip definitely gets used. Labor Day weekend, that's the U.S. Nationals, man. That's a Super Bowl of drag racing that's coming up. But it's a good place for these guys to get out here, because the track is really taken care of, and they get to push it as far as they want to push it with these old cars here, and in a safe environment. They've got safety crews and all the protection that they need to make sure they can not take any unnecessary risks in these sometimes priceless vehicles that are out here, and you get to see them via Smith Motorworks. Yeah, check that out, man. I mean, it's like I said, who gets to see this stuff in color? These are old cars. A lot of them are championship cars. I mean, the guys that have won Indy or won the championship that year. You saw a lot of the names painted on there. Roger Ward and Rathman and whatnot. I mean, it's definitely kind of the Mount Rushmore of some of these guys. Yeah, I just love the sound. I mean, there's nothing like it. I mean, I've heard some of them run before, but I never get tired of it. I mean, they're all different, and that I guess that's my favorite part, is that depending on the tune or the exhaust. I mean, they sound like 2 different engines. And I mean, and they might be. I mean, there's different displacements, and there's a lot of things that they did with this engine architecture, but yeah, it's kind of hot rodder's delight, I would say. Some of the stuff, if you're into that, there's so much to know about it. I mean, I read a book recently by Gordon Elliott White about Offenhauser, and he's written many books about that engine in this sport, and it's just fascinating. I mean, how the adaptability and the modularity of these engines that are out here, it's crazy. And then you get the dimension of the mechanic, the tuner, the guy that he reshaped this, or he shimmed that, or whatever. I mean, it's it's fascinating. You know, I mean, it's kind of like a musician. You know, you get somebody that knows how to play guitar or you know. Miles Davis or Dizzy Gillespie or something like that. I mean, yeah, can you pick up a guitar or a trumpet and play it? Sure, but I mean, if you live it and you breathe it, like some of these mechanics did, you can tune it to do some amazing things that weren't intended by the engineers, even. And the best guys were ones like Ray Room, the original 500 winner, to where that guy was an engineer, a mechanic, and a driver. He knew it all. He could do anything, and whether he did it or not, he could definitely communicate that to the guys that were working on the team. And there's just so many of those guys, these unsung heroes that did these things. And I think it's a monument to their hard work and their ingenuity that these cars are still rolling. Because the sweat and blood is stained on these cars, and when you go out and you see them and you enjoy it, you kind of make them live again. It's a cool thing to me, at least. Well, hey, we're walking out of here, and like I said, this is kind of a multi-purpose facility. You can see back where we were up in the grandstands. But that's the drag strip. And some of these roads that are kind of like access roads where you go to park, they were part of the road course. If you want to learn more about IRP, I suggest you do it. It's pretty cool. It's had a couple sponsors that changed it, but it's always been IRP.
Well, hey, there's another one in the can. I hope you liked that one. Lots of cool stuff. I could have spent way more time out there checking it out, but it was kind of in the middle of the day, of a weekday. It's kind of odd, so I did it on my lunch break. But if you want to know more, and there are books on Miller, I just finished reading this one by a man named Gordon Elliott White. Back when I worked on Gasoline Alley, he had brought in he had a bunch of original decal art for the contingency decals that are on the cars, like ideal hoses, clamps, and all kinds of Bardol and things like that. Old, products for automotive that were on the cars, and you'll see a bunch of them in the film if you go back and look at the cars. And I ended up digitizing those, recreating them so they could be reproduced and reused on those restoration on those cars. But anyway, that's beside the point. That's my tiny connection to this guy. Really good author, really good book. If you don't like to read, take a look at it anyway. Just some great photos. And this is not on Miller. It's on Offenhauser, the kind of successor to that. And I think he wrote a book on Miller too. But cool stuff out there. But this was pretty neat. So I just want to throw that in there. It's kind of a connection to it. It was really funny. I found out about this event while I was reading this book, and I was like, man, this is too good to be true. I can see it come to life. But regardless, I hope you enjoyed that one. Again, thanks for watching, and like, subscribe, share. Do that homework like we always do, and we'll see you next time on Smith Motorworks. Bye.